Hello viewers, Adams 118 and welcome to a new video series that I'm going to be doing that's about ramming in GTA 5/GTA Online. Now the point of this series is to give you information about which vehicles are the best in each class at ramming. Now what you're seeing here is a countdown from worst to best, 57th to first, because we're considering the sports class here, which at time of recording during the after hours update is by far the largest class in the game. And the 5-digit numbers that you're seeing are values of momentum, which I've calculated, and this is the most sort of scientific method that I can use without knowing how Rockstar codes the game, to determine what vehicles are better than others at ramming. And in order to make those calculations, all we need to do is multiply the top speed values and weight values of these vehicles. Now the top speed values luckily have been tested by the great Bruffy1322, links to all this good stuff in the video description, and his testing spreadsheet gives all the top speed values and the weight values that I think were obtained from the handling files that we need to calculate all these momentum values. And then I've ranked them all based on those. And whenever we have a joint position, I just want to clarify this a bit. You may have noticed, since there have already been a couple of those instances, I've seemed to have skipped a position immediately below the position where their joint position is. You may think it's a mistake, but it's not, and I'll clarify why. By using a simplification. If we just say, for instance, that there are only 4 vehicles in the class, obviously there are a lot more than that, but if there were only 4 vehicles in the class, and you had a joint position for the 2 middle vehicles, you could quite easily say that there's a definitive first place and a definitive last place, but, there's a joint second place. So it's easy to say that the vehicle in the top position is in first place, and the next 2 are in joint second place. But do you say that the last vehicle is in 3rd place or in 4th place? Well, immediately you might think 3rd place, because that's the next value down from 2, obviously. But really, it's in 4th place. Why is that? Well, quite simply, there are 3 vehicles that are better than it, and that's why I would consider that to be in 4th place. And that's the kind of mentality that I've used with this ranking, with all 57 vehicles. Now, in general, vehicles get a better benefit from weight than they do from top speed, since proportionately the differences in weight values between these vehicles is higher than the proportionate differences in top speed. That doesn't mean that top speed is negligible, though. The Schafter V12 and the Pariah are perfect examples of that, because they have high top speed, and there are vehicles in positions below that have higher weights. In general, weight is more important, but top speed should not be underestimated. It can push vehicles up to higher positions than you would, normally think that they would be able to achieve. Into the top 10 now, with a joint 9th position with the 2 Massacros. The Racecar version is effectively just a reskin. They have the same top speed, they have the same weight, so they get the same position on this list. And then in 8th place we have the Lynx, shown here without a livery on. I got these images, by the way, from the GTA wiki. I'll leave a link to that in the video description as well. And then in 7th place we have the Alpha, sort of a luxury coupe, and luxury vehicles tend to be heavier. And that's definitely shown in GTA as well. In 6th place we have the Bestia GTS with a nice round 95,000 kilogram meters per second. That's the unit that I've used, by the way. That's the SI unit for momentum. Both that and the Alpha weigh 1.8 tons, but heading into the top 5 we break the 2-ton barrier with the Strider. This weighs 2,010 kilograms. I don't know why there's an extra 10 kilograms there. It doesn't make any difference in this list, but Rockstar being Rockstar have not only put this in the sports class, but have given it a weird weight value. And then in 4th place we have the Neon, also weighed 2 tons, and it gets most of its weight, I imagine, from just being an electric vehicle. I think it's well known enough now in real life that electric cars tend to be heavier than their petrol counterparts, and Rockstar seem to have done that in GTA as well. Another example here in third place with the Raiden. Another electric vehicle, weighs 2.1 tons, which is a lot, and it's the electric nature that gives it that value. However, there's a big difference now in weight to second place with the Revolter. This weighs half a ton more than the Raiden, and there's a huge difference between the momentum values there. I mean, we went from something like 105,000 for the Raiden to 133,000 for the Revolter. That's a huge, huge difference. And another huge difference to the first place position, unsurprisingly, it's the armoured Kuruma. Just from the name, it's unsurprising really. This weighs 600 kilograms more than the Revolter, 3.2 tons in all. 156,089 kilogram meters per second is the value that it gets for the momentum. Without a doubt the best in the class. And here's an interesting graph that I made that provides a very good visual comparison between all these values. And when you look at most of the values, especially in the middle, from vehicle to vehicle, they don't change much. And the individual values that you get for the vehicles don't mean a lot. However, when you look at the extremes, which you get at both ends, you know, the Raptor is so far off the pace of, you know, everything else in terms of momentum, but you'd expect that since it's lacking a lot of bodywork and one wheel compared to every other sports car. And then you've got the Revolter and the armoured Kuruma taking it to another level in the opposite direction with their huge weight advantage. That's quite enough theory crafting, I think. What I'm actually going to show you now is some gameplay footage. I decided to take the top 3 vehicles in the momentum list, because I own them all and they're fully upgraded, out for a spin to see what they are actually like at ramming. And in general, you know, that momentum list, it does not lie. You know, the calculations definitely do not lie. And there's no chance of any vehicle sort of in the middle of the list being surprisingly good at ramming, you know, better than, for instance, these top 3. That's why I only took the top 3 out, and I'll show you in a minute sort of 2 other cars in the list, one from the middle of the pack and one from the bottom, just for comparison purposes. I'm not going to show you every car because, well, I don't own them all, so I can't test them all fully upgraded, and it would take a long time to show all of them. Instead, with these 3, I want to illustrate a point that I noticed when I took these out, and that is the traction. The armoured Kuruma there just span out from ramming a vehicle. Now any vehicle can spin out really when ramming another vehicle if it's ramming in a sort of awkward direction, but the higher the traction a vehicle has, of course, the less likely you are going to spin out. And assuming that you are ramming in an appropriate manner, so that you're, you know, reducing the chance that you're going to spin out. So if you're ramming head on, for instance, and not at a weird angle, then you're not likely to spin out unless you have particularly bad traction, which none of these 3 do really. But the Revolter and the Raiden do have significantly better traction than the armoured Kuruma, which is of course the king from the momentum list. And I think the momentum really does make a difference. And from most of the rams that you're seeing here, they don't spin out, but the armoured Kuruma tends to spin out more often than the other 2. The armoured Kuruma, just, you know, in case you didn't realise it, the one on the left, Revolter in the middle, Raiden on the right. And you know, quite often some of these vehicles are performing double or even triple rams, where, you know, they're sort of ramming a line of vehicles. And you know, for instance, the armoured Kuruma just did one there, a sort of triple-ish ram, and it went through reasonably well. Revolter there just climbed over the top of vehicles. That can happen sometimes. Particularly bad one by the armoured Kuruma there. Did spin out from its from some pretty low traction. And now we're seeing 2 different vehicles, the Schafter V12 from the sort of middle of the pack on the left and the Futo on the right. The Futo, quite clearly does not have anything on its side in terms of ramming. It doesn't have top speed on its side, it doesn't have weight on its side, and it's quite well known really in the sports cars for having particularly bad traction. And well, it just stopped dead when it rammed the first car, and it's going to perform even worse against some other cars now. I mean, look at it. It just performed a front flip from ramming that Washington, and that's all it rammed. You know, the car behind it was not in contact with the Washington. It just shows how bad the Futo really is at ramming. And the Schafter V12 also isn't good at ramming because it's not got. Well, I'm not sure that it has particularly bad traction, it just has an awful lot of power, and when it's not got the traction to match the performance of the power, it really can struggle when it rams things, and it's probably because it doesn't have any more traction than the ordinary Schafter. I don't know that for sure, but I'm guessing that it doesn't have any more traction than the ordinary Schafter, and when you increase the power without increasing the traction as well, it really does work against the ramming capability of the vehicle. So I just wanted to illustrate this sort of traction point at the end, because the momentum calculation isn't really everything by itself. That's the only scientific method that I have to getting close. And it does give a very general idea. You know, a vehicle at the bottom like the Futo, when you put it into practice, is never going to be anywhere near as good as the vehicles at the top. That's pretty much it for this video, viewers. I hope you enjoyed watching, and because of that extra bit at the end about traction, I would actually consider the Revolter to be a better rammer than the armoured Kuruma. But you know, put your thoughts in the comment section below, whether you agree with me, whether you don't agree with me. Feel free to subscribe if you aren't already, to get notifications of when I upload future videos in this series. The supercars class will be the next one that I cover, so you can look forward to that. And until next time, I hope you found this video interesting, maybe helped you out in some way. You never know who might find these sorts of things useful. And as always, good luck with whatever games you're playing, and I'll see you next time.